Now more than ever, innovative technologies are fueling change and sparking new ways of thinking. Collaboration between corporations and startups is key to staying at the forefront of these trends. However, finding the right startups can be expensive, time-consuming, and ineffective. But Plug and Play is here to help. As a corporate partner, you will gain access to a whole ecosystem of innovation. Discover startups that meet your tech interests. Stay updated on the latest trends and network with industry peers. We will help you during every stage of your innovation journey, no matter where you are and where you want to go. Get in touch today.
All right, good morning, everyone. Hope that video woke you up a little bit. For those of you that are new, my name's Brian. I'm the Global Director of our food program here at Plug and Play. So in the agenda today, we have our, this morning we have our food program. In the afternoon, we have our media and ad program. This is our whole expo week, so feel free to join all these activities. We have many programs graduating, so it'll be a similar agenda where we'll have an introduction and then all the startups pitching that are graduating from the various industry-specific programs. So this is now our 10th batch at Plug and Play. So, and actually I'm now approaching my 5th year here. We've been around for quite some time. So now we're the largest food innovation platform in the world. So it's great to see kind of the program grow the size it has in the US as well as now internationally, which is why my title is now Global Director. It's been quite the ride. So on our agenda today for this program, this session, we'll have some brief opening remarks from me, per usual, and then we'll have our keynote speaker, which I'll introduce in a moment, and then the main agenda, which will be the startup pitches. So you can expect this to last till about 11 o'clock today. So, some housekeeping items. So the minutes are four minutes each. So there's no Q&A. So we suggest if you'd like to learn more that you vote on the poll that you'd like to get connected with the startups. That will allow you to ask more questions and generally connect with the startups about their companies. So for the food program, so we can go to the next slide. As you know, our program's been around for some time. We've expanded significantly over the past couple of years. Here you can kind of see the global presence of Plug and Play. So, our Silicon Valley office is where it all started, but now we have over 30 offices globally. This year, we've definitely made a bigger presence in the United States through our expansions to Chicago, Northwest Arkansas, Cleveland, Fargo. We now have a great presence here. Also in the Southern Hemisphere, we're also developing programs in South Africa. We have a program in Brazil, and we're working on a program in Australia. But a lot of interesting movement. Each one of these offices has its own team, its own corporate partners, its own kind of culture. So it's it's interesting when you are a startup and you get to graduate our programs here in the U.S. There's a lot of other opportunities internationally to participate in our programs, meet our partners, generally participate in the platform. So there's over 30 of them. So, if you graduate, if you just go to all these programs, you could spend a lot of time, meet a lot of people. Yeah, we've seen some interesting rotations. Here you can kind of see two sides of our program. So number one is on the left-hand side, you'll see the startups that are graduating today. All 15 of these companies will be presenting today virtually. 11 of them are dedicated to ingredient innovation. The other 4 are dedicated to food packaging, biotechnology, and marketing and analytics. So as you can see, there's been a big shift in our program towards ingredient innovation. And, again, this changes every batch. It's a little different. All depends on the votes. And the votes come from the partners on the right. So these are the partners that get to decide who joins our accelerator. Many of these corporations you've probably heard of, they're big brands. We do have one announcement we'll be making. It looks like not in this slide, but actually, yeah. Since it's listed here, we are excited to announce Cliff Bar joining our platform. So welcome, Myrek and Gregory from Cliff Bar to join our platform here at Plug and Play. So these are the trends that we focus on for our program. So again, these are the trends that change each batch. Our partners dictate these. There's really three main pillars, which is ingredient innovation, food packaging, and biotechnology. But we also focus on several other areas, including supply chain, analytics, food safety. So this has been an interesting one. Michelle's created some nice little time series charts showing how it's changed over time. We learn a lot from our partners, and that's what really has directed our program. So before, you had a slide that showcased the general overview of a plug and play in terms of our geography. Here you can see the food and beverage program. So we launched our program back in 2017, and then our first two offices that we launched were in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as well as Milan, Italy. So those were the first focal points and the first time our program's ever been outside the US. And with the success of those, we've launched several other programs, including in Fargo, which is now mostly focused on digital agriculture, Topeka, Kansas, which is focused on animal health. And then we also have a program more recently in Shanghai, China, which is dedicated to mostly food manufacturing technologies, so probably mostly ingredient innovation like you'll see in our program here, just dedicated to the Chinese ecosystem. But there are several other programs we're planning to launch, also in Japan as well as in Europe. Some of you may be aware of our efforts in Paris, but it looks like we will be starting a program shortly in Paris dedicated to food innovation. So if you'd like to learn more about that, please reach out to us. We'll tell you more about the timeline and the partners and the startups that we're working with. Looks like I'll be actually flying out there on Sunday. Okay, so Chicago. So thank you for everyone that joined our event last week. We had a very beautiful cocktail hour with our local partners and just general network in Chicago. We have about 5 partners located in Chicago, and many of our other partners are located further east. So having this local presence can be really helpful because this might be the last time we are fully virtual. We're really hoping that the virus is going to allow us, but I think it seems to be that we'll start going to hybrid settings, to hybrid events ongoing, and start having some in-person activity. So we're really excited to have this new office in Chicago. We'll be doing deal flows, events, board meetings, a lot of really important activities for our program in that region. So it'll be easier for a lot of our partners to engage with us on a deeper level. Also during this event, we did announce the launch of our retail and financial services programs. So it's not just going to be food in Chicago. We'll have support of several other programs. Yeah, excited to get you guys involved. We'll probably have our next in-person event early next year, so we'll keep you all updated about that. But hopefully that was the first of many in-person events in the city of Chicago.
My name is Brian Tetrud. I'm the Global Director of our food program at Plug and Play, and I work out of the Silicon Valley office and soon to be the Chicago office within the US food program. Being in Chicago is going to allow us to have a really close relationship with our partners. We're going to have in-person events that are going to be accessible to the leadership of these large companies. And so for us being out there, it facilitates a much better engagement. It's going to allow us to develop a deeper relationship with these companies. Chicago is a great location for us because it's really the center of food innovation in the United States. Many of the largest food companies in the country and in the world are based out in the Chicago region. So for us to be in Chicago is really a great opportunity for us to engage deeper with the leadership of these organizations and really allow them to collaborate with our startups.
It's just been amazing the breadth of startups that we have seen and how, as I bring people to Plug and Play, how excited they get.
This event is particularly exciting for us because it's our first in-person event in Chicago. It brings together 3 teams, our food team, financial services team, as well as retail teams, all in one room where we're going to bring all these champions together of these large corporations that have established these connections with us and let them network with one another and learn about our next moves in Chicago.
There's very few places where a company so early on in its life would be rubbing shoulders with the giants of the industry, and I think it's a very unique experience in that way.
I'm really excited that all of you have been able to join us today. I'm super excited to see that this program is finally happening. It's great to see that Plug and Play is finally in Chicago.
We feel as we launch these 3 initiatives in Chicago, we can embrace everything that Chicago has to offer.
We're thinking about how we put our customer experience and their expectations at the forefront of our strategy, as well as our innovation activities. We're also looking at how we can leverage new partners to find new and exciting ways of doing business going forward.
It's been a move that we should have made a long time ago. Many of our corporate partners are in Chicago or the region or further east, and it's just so much easier to connect with them when we're close by.
Thank you so much for joining us today, and I hope to be there in person soon to meet every one of you. Thank you.
Okay, so we actually played that video during the opening remarks of our event in Chicago. So yeah, but I think everyone was talking pretty loudly, so maybe not everyone was able to see that video. Excellent. I think lastly, I'd like to talk about China. So this has been a program for quite some time now, but for the food section of it, it's rather new. Last year is when we started to launch the food side of this program with and now 6 corporate partners. So it looks like they will be announcing one new partner in their next event. But generally, activity is growing in China. That's probably the fastest growing region we have at Plug and Play. So I know many of you know Wen. She's been dedicated to kind of having this cross-border collaboration with that team. So if you'd, again, like to learn more, participate in the upcoming events, please reach out to her or me, and we'll get you in touch. Okay, last but not least, I'd love to announce our keynote speaker for our Food Batch 10. So Josh is an alumnus of our food program and the president of DayTwo, one of our favorite personalized startup companies. They provide insights for people to maintain healthy blood sugar levels based on their microbiome. And they recently closed a $37 million round. So congratulations, Josh. It's a big success. So the name of his presentation is Food as Medicine. The era of chronic disease is over. Take it away, Josh.
Good morning, everyone. And Brian, thank you very much. Can you see and hear me? Just confirming.
Yep, we are all good.
Oh, very good. Before I share some prepared remarks, I wanted to maybe first thank Plug and Play, thank Brian Tetrud. We are huge fans of what you're doing and the innovation you're bringing to the market. And in fact, I'd say that the feedback that we received the last 4 years ago were very helpful in focusing our go-to-market and our approach to the market that we'll talk about a little bit today. I'd also like to share a little bit about my own interest in food is very personal. I'm a cardiovascular patient as a male in his 40s, and I'm a preventative cardiovascular patient. And I use food as medicine and food tech to actually manage my cardiovascular risk, which we'll talk about a little bit as one of the applications. It's not just about nutrition anymore. It's really how can food be used for clinical applications upstream in terms of the top 5 conditions and downstream in terms of prevention of the same. And we're now seeing great traction in areas like diabetes, fatty liver, obesity, and cardiovascular, which gives us hope that food actually can be the next pharmaceutical effectively to end the era of chronic disease that is largely behavioral and only minimally genetic in many cases. I'd also maybe add 2 other thoughts. When we look at food and the trends in the food business and the food industry and the nutrition industry, we see a lot of fads. Every year there's a different diet. Every year there's a different theme or approach. Some years eggs are in, some years eggs are out. Some years grapefruit's in, some years grapefruit's out. And that was the kind of the fad diet of, have as much fruit as you want, and then you can't have fruit because there's too many carbs, or have as much dairy or eggs as you want, and then no, dairy's not good for the body. And if you look at every cover of Time magazine in every January for the last 30 years, you'll see a new diet coming out, and that kind of speaks to the trendiness and fattiness of food and nutrition. We think that era is ending. And for the last 3-4 years, what we're seeing much more is a different trend, which is the era of elimination. People who are going and now becoming less fringy, but more accepted as gluten-free completely, or carb-free completely, or ketogenic. And we think that that's going to be a passing phase as well. We think we're about to enter the next phase of food innovation, which we would call the precision era, where it's not just about food, but it's about the person eating the food. And how do we profile both people and food so that we can come up with the best approach for both? And we think this leads to enormous opportunities for the manufacturers, for the packaged goods companies, for clinical side and clinicians in terms of therapy, and for patients and consumers as they think about what's good for them may not be what's good for their neighbor, because now we are learning from science. It's not just about food itself, it's about how my body processes that food. And as we'll cover, everyone processes food differently. And a major component of why that is the case that we now know is the inventory of the gut microbiome. What's in your gut and what's in my gut and what's in your best friend's gut and your spouse's gut and your children's guts are all different. They're like a fingerprint. They're more unique than fingerprints, as it turns out, when you look at the diversity and the abundance of what's in everyone's gut from a gut bacteria perspective. We know there's up to 3,000 strains of bacteria in your gut. We know that as you age, the diversity goes down and the disease goes up. And we know that a balanced diet of macro and micronutrients can actually improve the diversity and abundance, which is correlated to better health. The challenge is, how do we actually lead to is there a magic pill or magic approach or magic food for this? And the short answer so far is no. We're actually finding that it's highly algorithmic. It's highly dependent on each person, which presents challenges in go-to-market, but it also presents opportunities, again, for both the food side, the science side, and the packaged goods side. So with that, I'm going to remind everyone that the Q&A button in the lower right, while not necessarily applicable for the startups, as Brian mentioned, coming later, is totally applicable for this presentation. I will cover about 10 to 15 minutes of material and would like to invite questions at the end. And if you press the Q&A button and ask a question there, happy to take those as we go. Any questions we don't get to, we're happy to cover as a follow-up after the event. And so with that, I will share my screen and go into the prepared remarks. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So just a quick snapshot of how we've approached food as medicine going to market. We've taken a clinical approach because we thought that was the best way. There's so much noise in the marketplace. Our own approach happened to be, let's start with patients who work with doctors, providers, and are part of an employer health plan, are part of a health system or a hospital system health plan, are part of an insurance plan, and or work with their pharmaceutical manufacturer who's actually trying to help them with their condition that's dealing with food. And so by doing this little unusual approach to market versus just getting shelf space at the supermarket, we were able to get a lot of data. And that data is what we're about to cover here to show the impact of food, which is so profound and tremendous that's actually driving our go-to-market and inviting a lot more investment in food as medicine. We started 10 years ago in the lab looking at glucose response. And just for those who as I didn't go past biology 1, I'm happy to just do the quick refresher, which is one of the primary ways we look at food from a clinical perspective is the energy you derive from it is the glucose that we can measure. And that glucose is how your body runs. And if you have too much glucose, it gets stored as fat. If you have too little glucose, you get hungry and sluggish or hangry. And the name of the game in food and nutrition on the clinical side has been, how do you keep people in the range, in the healthy range of glucose between 80 and 160 is typically considered the range. A little higher for very healthy people, a little lower for less healthy people. But that's the name of the game. And what we've learned by studying glucose response in food is that it's highly personal. The food pyramid that we grew up with, which is an interesting guideline about food, albeit also a political instrument, we've also learned that that food pyramid does not work for everybody the same way. And so to that point, I'll just skip ahead. This is really the tail of the tape. When we dose food and track glucose response of food to people, what we know is that people respond differently to exactly the same food. And this is profound if you think about it, because then when we go to market with food products or food technology, we're trying to find here's a one size fits all, or here's something that will achieve something for everybody. And we're finding that it's challenging. Some foods can do that, but most foods, any with a carb load, actually have wildly different responses. And the curves here show that glucose response over the 2 hours of eating after the meal, what's known as the postprandial glycemic response, or after meal blood sugar. The spike on the left above 160 and the spike on the right above 120 show the glucose that's going high after a meal, after the consumption of a bowl of oats for these patients. You'll notice that the patient in the middle had no spike whatsoever. And you also notice that the slope and the range of each spike and trough is different. The trough on the left and right are also the post-meal crash. So some people would call a sugar crash. And that's when people get hungrier and eat more because they're not satisfied after the meal. Notice the patient in the middle has none of this. The key take-home message of this isn't just about oats and how people respond to oats, but this is true of every meal with a carb load we found has these kinds of ranges of responses. And the challenging part is, how do you know how each person responds? And so we found out that we collected everything under the sun starting 10 years ago to see, could we find a leading indicator? And what we found was what's in your gut can actually tell us how you respond before you eat. Why this matters is because now we can say, for those folks who are in metabolic disease, diabetes, obesity, fatty liver, and they want to lose weight, or they want to stay healthy or get into glycemic control, stay in the zone, we can actually flatten the curve. And the green lines on this chart represent the same patients with the same bowl of oats with some slight modifications on the left and on the right. Notice in the center, nothing changed because this patient didn't need modification. Oats work for her. But on the left, we added almonds to the oats. And in that case, adding that fat to the carb flattened the curve. However, when we did the same experiment with the patient on the right and added almonds to their oats, it did not work. In fact, they had virtually the same response. And so then we started testing, and what we learned was that walnuts for that patient worked, but not almonds. It worked so well, he had almost a flat curve, and we were able to add back a carb load in the form of blueberries. So the tale for all three patients here is oats are just fine for them. However, how they're served in terms of what combinations makes a difference in how their body responds. And now that is knowable completely in advance. But go to the next slide. So the way we approach this now is we take a microbiome, which is frankly a stool sample, sent into our lab. That allows us to feed a model that lets us predict what foods will work well for that gut profile. And then you leverage a dietitian to provide some telehealth as part of the experience, because if we don't do that, you can get some unintended outcomes. For example, Brian Tetrude might learn that ice cream works well for him as a glycemically controlled food, as ice cream does work for about 30% of the population with no spike in blood sugar. But then some people would interpret that as I could eat ice cream all day long. And of course, we know that's not the best way to live. But when we're dealing with patients, we have to have some guardrails, so we provide the clinical support to deal with that. So when we take the microbiome sample, we extract the DNA of the gut bacteria. One clarification is that we don't do human DNA. This is not about what you got from your parents. This is entirely what's in your environment, meaning the water you drink, the soil that you garden in, the dog or cat or pets that you may have, and the people that you live with and the food that you eat. That all affects what's in your gut microbiome. Also, it is foundationally imprinted from how you were born. Were you a classical birth or were you a C-section? That determines the signature of what starts in your gut. Were you fed by formula or were you fed by your mother? That also affects what gut bacteria initial fingerprint you have. We can actually now know this from samples of grown adults. And not only that, we're seeing signature not only of how people were fed when they were infants and how they were born that are more accurate than patient recollections, but we're also seeing that we can now start to see the signature of disease. Before a symptom presents, we're starting to see the tail of the tape in the microbiome. We use the DNA of what's in that gut, the diversity and abundance, to feed a model that gives us a glucose score in advance. If you're familiar with glucose monitoring, this is like a glucose monitor in advance. Before I eat the food, I can type into my app or look up in my app food or scan a barcode of a prepackaged food from 7-Eleven or from a local store, and I'll get a glucose score instantly from my body of how that food will react to me before I eat it. This allows me to make the best choices where I go. And it also works at every restaurant, every chain restaurant. We had to put all the menus in because we know that the number one eaten meal in America is the number one meal at McDonald's. And we know that the number two eaten meal in America every day is the number two meal at McDonald's. So we're not going to sort of take the let's just do whole foods approach, because we know most people can't afford that and also don't have access to that, but we will do all foods, prepackaged, whole foods, generic, branded, as well as restaurant menus. And then we can take the data from the gut and then give these predictions, but not only to say, for example, that oats don't work for a patient, but here's what can work to combine the oats with something. It's about combinations typically, not about elimination. And this is a key take-home message. The era of no carbs, we think, is ending, just as the era of chronic disease is ending, because it's not about no carbs. It's about what carbs can everybody process. And this leads to an enormous market opportunity for the food manufacturers and the packaged goods companies to actually say, we can actually build carb-friendly meals and foods now for people once we have their profile. And so the way we go about the food prescriptions, as we call them, which is effectively, if you think about chronic patients and how they take medications to control their blood sugar or to manage insulin, in the case of diabetes, we're saying, why can't we just do that with food? Because if you think about it, most chronic condition patients in metabolic disease are taking medications that help cover up or deal with the outcome of too much blood sugar. And what we can do now is say, we actually can manage the blood sugar up front by making slightly modified food choices, starting with existing meals. And this is crucial because we know that in the food business, folks like what they like. And we're not about to tell people how to eat or how to like what they don't like. We think that's a faulty approach. We do think that if we can start with existing behavior and we can start with here's what you're already eating and then score those meals, two things will happen. Number one, patients will learn the glucose response or the healthiness of those meals they love for their body right now. And they're always surprised. To give you a couple of examples, I like sushi, and some people would say the rice would be a spiking food because of the carbs in it. But if I have, as I scored sushi for myself, the rice is totally fine with the fish. The spiking meal is the ginger. The shaved ginger that comes with sushi actually spikes me with the sushi. And so if I eliminate the ginger, the sushi is in control for me. For other people, it's, believe it or not, vegetable salad. If they have an Israeli or a Mediterranean salad, you'd think that's a very healthy meal, which of course, nutritionally it is. But too much dosage of too many vegetables, which have plenty of sugar, can spike plenty of people, and folks don't always realize that. So how do they dose the salad appropriately? Not to eliminate the salad, but to dose it appropriately, not to eliminate the sushi, but to cut back on the ginger. And so it's really the first approach to saying, let's say yes to food, not no to food. Let's say, how do we combine and include foods to bring people into control, not have unnatural category elimination, so that you can eat the foods that you love with just small changes. As BJ Fogg would say, the tiny changes are a lot more effective to behavior alignment than radical change. We know we just can't tell people don't eat carbs forever. That doesn't work. But we can say, if you make a slight adjustment to this meal, you can still enjoy it. And that's very liberating for many patients. In fact, it's typically easier to tell someone to adjust something they're already doing than to change it wholesale. So let's see, next slide. The tail of the tape on the clinical outcome is something we call time in range. And now with continuous monitoring through Fitbits and through glucose devices and through blood pressure cuffs, what we're seeing is that we can actually track not just as a finger stick with a lancet how someone's sugar is at the moment, but they can actually track themselves all day long and see, when they're going low, they know what to eat, kind of like a person with type 1 used to do. And that way you don't overeat. You actually can get in front of it by checking your glucose regularly with a glucose monitor. We also know that we can then track the meal after you eat to see, did you stay in that healthy range of 80 to, in this case, 180, which is for a very healthy person. And this chart I'm about to show you here, this is a glucose chart for one day for one patient that shows what happened after the 3 meals that they ate. And this is very typical for most Americans. When you wake up in the morning, your blood sugar is typically low because you've been sleeping all night. And that's exhibited by the 6 a.m. part of the chart here. And then when a meal is consumed over the next 2 hours, the glucose rises as the body takes energy from the meal. And you'll notice in the case of this breakfast, they go into the red zone. And every time you're in the red zone, that's effectively the time that you could think about the body trying to handle excess blood sugar. And then we'll try to process that with insulin, or it will, if it can't, it will store the excess sugar as fat. And that's how people gain weight. Every minute spent in the upper end of the chart in red pink is time to accumulate fat storage. And so the goal for us is as relatively healthy individuals is how do we stay out of the red on the upper end of the chart so we don't store food as fat and just get the right amount of energy from every meal. And at the bottom, how do we stay out of the red at the bottom so that we don't get too hungry or hangry and then overeat or go crazy. And so the same patient, when they were profiled and we gave them the same 3 meals with tiny changes, things like the almonds to the oats, or things like take the ginger off the sushi, could actually bring the same 3 meals with modification into control. And that's the blue line on this chart. You still see the 3 meal spikes. That's never going to go away because you have an input of food, you have glucose as an outcome, but we can moderate the spike and the trough. And that gives people more energy all day long and lets them feel more satiated. How do we measure this? I mean, when you go to the grocery store and look at food, a lot of the claims are, low sugar, low salt, less calories, and that's all fine. But from a clinical measure, as we went to market, we had to come up with, we went to the clinical experts and said, how would you look at the health of food? And you'd be amazed at the responses we got. They were all over the road. But we synthesized the common responses, and now this is how we scorecard what we do. We actually will look at in the top row what we call the validated measures. And then on the bottom row, what we call the real world evidence, or RWE measures. Self-reported is on the bottom. Clinically validated or technically validated measures are on the top that are not opinions, but coming off of empirical data. And so the key measure for folks with food control is A1C, typically, the hemoglobin A1C that most metabolic patients get 4 times a year. And if you're a healthy person, you probably get once a year, which is your fasting blood sugar measurement on a trailing 90-day basis. And we try to keep people in that healthy range of A1C. Time in range, which is the chart that I showed with the spikes and the troughs, that's becoming the new way of doing things. That will take another few years to replace or displace A1C, but now we look at both because A1C has been used for a century, and time in range is relatively new with the healthcare revolution of continuous monitoring and much more accurate. And the two things are correlated, but the better time in range that we get, the better A1C that we get. And but doctors are still even learning about time in range because glucose monitors are only in the market for about 5 years, and it takes 10 years in healthcare for something to become widely used. Weight loss is the secondary benefit. When your A1C is controlled and when your time in range is controlled, the favorable side effect is you lose weight. And you lose weight because the body is ultimately consuming just enough energy to meet its needs and not going high and not going low and then over consuming. And so one of the side effects of healthy eating and staying in range is weight control. And so we look at that as a secondary measure. And it's notable that at this part of the presentation, it's only coming up here because we don't want to market the benefits of food as weight loss. We think that leads to unintended consequences and suboptimal outcomes, but it is a natural side effect of healthy eating. And then the engagement stat here is really based on how many folks can stick to a protocol of adjusting their existing meals. And this is important because as we know in healthcare and with many kind of food trends, people can try something and then they can give it up or drop it after a few months of getting bored with it. If we could say to people, keep doing what you love, keep eating what you love, but make tiny changes, it's a lot easier for folks to adhere and to stick at 1 year, at 2, and at 3 years. And then the other clinical side effect is we can take medications off because we can use food as medicine. Again, medications are, in most cases for metabolic patients, just a way to cover up the negative side effects of too much sugar. And so now we can say, you know what, we can actually see meds come off, which is enormous cost savings in the industry, and food can be used as a really great clinical tool. So the bottom measures, though, are the things that we think about from a consumer or CPG perspective on food. If you eat in the range, food that works for your body, you'll have better energy. You will sleep better. You will not be disrupted as much as you, or wake up as much as you would otherwise. You'll have less hunger because you'll be in the zone. So you won't go south of 80 in glucose and feel hangry. And ultimately, you'll have less stress, because the number one stressor for folks who are metabolic, which is about half of our country now, are, what am I going to have next? It's not going to make me feel bad, or not make me feel guilty, or not make me feel like bloated after I eat. And when you stay in control with your food choices, those side effects go away, and that leads to less stress, which leads to a lot more happiness for patients. One of the ways we can look at the food as medicine impact that we're seeing in the market is, and this is the cutting the cost of caring for a person with diabetes, which is now a growing part of our population, over 10%. And we're seeing that the red line here is the cost of someone with diabetes today in an average health plan as projected out on trend. The blue line, though, is what we're seeing when we can get food as medicine to be used. And the difference between the two lines is the reduction in medication, because diabetes medication, as this example would indicate, can be $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 between patients. And we can get all of it off for some of it off for others, and just start to get it off for a third group. But less medication is really what we call the era of ending chronic disease, because chronic disease typically is a diagnosis that people carry with them to the grave. And if we can get them out of that by getting them into control and getting them off of medications, that's a game changer. Ultimately, for those of you who are clinically oriented or scientifically oriented, we recommend these as 4 tenets to get yourself differentiated in the market. Look at more than one condition, look at remission or getting out of chronic disease as a differentiator. Work with primary care docs, because one thing I'll call out for this food conference is that, and an opportunity for everyone, is that most doctors in America have 8 hours or less of food and nutrition training in their medical degree. That is a fact. That's something that many folks are trying to lobby to improve, but food and nutrition understanding is very limited for doctors. And so as you come to market with food tech, with food products, with food opportunities that help improve the health of people, how you can also have marketing outreach and product marketing to the primary doc community is a great way to enhance pickup, as doctors can recommend or refer healthy and healthier approaches to food that could be from your own companies or startups. And then, of course, stay evidence-based. There's so much unfounded claims in the marketplace that to start with the science and stick with the science, or start with real-world evidence and present that, we believe will always win the day and break through versus everyone else's marketing claims that are specious. That's the end of my prepared remarks. I'm going to stop here. I think we're pretty much at time. And so, Gabriella, I'm going to turn it back to you.
Thank you so much. And I think this really touches a topic that is very relevant for all of our partners. We're seeing a lot more just companies that are trying to tackle challenges in this space. And yeah, personally, I think it's something I've been looking into as well, just generally, blood sugar levels. And I think where you started the conversation about kind of maintaining healthy levels of glucose, I think that's the key. And I think everyone's diet's different. I'm still learning mine. So Josh, thank you so much for your time. And now I think it's the main event. So I'd like to pass the mic off to Michelle, who will be leading the discussions.
Thank you so much, Brian. So like Brian said, I am Michelle, and I'm honored to be your MC for today. Super excited for the 15 startups that are graduating from our food batch 10. So the first category to start will be biotech and personalized nutrition, followed by ingredient innovation, which of course is the bulk of our program, marketing analytics, and food packaging. So there will be a quick break in the middle after the 8th pitch. And as a reminder, please don't forget to fill out the short polls after each pitch that will appear on your screen if you're interested in connecting with these startups. So thank you everyone again, our partners, startups, mentors, and VCs for joining us today. And we'll jump into what you've been waiting for, the startup pitches. So the first company is Food is Good. So Food is Good's AI reads and rates food in real time to have a personalized understanding of each individual's diet. So please welcome Max to the stage.
Hi, everyone. Good morning. Excited to kick things off. Just confirming everyone can hear me okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it's great.
All right, great. Wonderful to be here. My name is Max Barber. I'm the co-founder and CEO of FIG, Food is Good. And I'd like to start today by asking all of you if you have any dietary needs or restrictions. Chances are more than half of you probably do. About 70% of the world today actually have a dietary restriction or need of some type. And we're spending a lot of time really understanding what these look like on the individual level. They can range from anything as simple as a peanut allergy to almost very complex lists of ingredients that you have to avoid, like Elizabeth here. Elizabeth basically has to walk around the grocery store with this list of restrictions. It's food that she has to avoid, formatted in different sizes and shapes that she understands as her algorithm for how she has to eat food. And it takes her hours to find food. Someone like Jessa, dietary needs look very dynamic to her. So they actually change over time. She was diagnosed with eosinophilic gastritis. And one day she figures out that she can't have tomatoes. And the next day she figures out that she can't have rice. And she's really just playing a guessing game with her needs and what food actually makes her body feel. What we're creating at FIG is a home for people with dietary needs. Our technology just easily understands what dietary needs look like for an individual. So whether you're eating for a health condition, whether you have allergies or intolerances, whether you just got a lab test result, FIG just makes it simple to understand and stores it in one place, your FIG. And then FIG is connected to everywhere that food is. So if you're shopping for groceries at Walmart or browsing for recipes on All Recipes or ordering food from DoorDash, your FIG is just there to show you what food is good for you, whether you can have it, and why. Let me show you how it works. So if I'm shopping for food on, and is there a way to press the video on this slide? I don't think I have control. Oh, perfect. So if you're shopping for chips, crackers, or snacks on Target today, FIG will just show you which of the search results are good or green or best for you to have. So I can just quickly know that these good things are green or good for me based on my diet. If I'm shopping and I see these Ritz crackers, FIG will actually show me why I can't have these Ritz crackers. So if you see on the screen here, unbleached enriched flour, palm oil, and high fructose corn syrup are basically flagged as red by FIG. And FIG has actually read each ingredient and rated it for your diet based on contextual ratings from a team of 10 dietitians that we've worked with over the past 2 years to build up individual ratings for every single ingredient, for every single food. And you can actually see those contextual ratings as you read and interact with foods in real time. So as a orthodox vegan or a not so orthodox vegan, I can actually read why palm oil may or may not work for me and make a decision in real time as I'm choosing food, whether that item is good for me or not. And what are the results, right? Why are we doing this? Well, for someone like Elizabeth, FIG is really life-changing. She's told us that it helped her more in 3 weeks than her dietitian had in 3 months. And similar story for Jessa. What FIG means is that she no longer cries in Sprouts in her supermarket. And these are common stories, not just to Elizabeth and Jessa, but to our whole team. So we're a team of 10 now. We've been at this for about 2 years. 80% of us have struggled with personal dietary needs and restrictions of the likes of Jessa and Elizabeth that I shared with you today. And we just really understand and know why FIG needs to exist. And we're really driving towards mass adoption. So our past few months have really just been focused on growth. We support about 35,000 monthly users now and are continuing to grow and increase that. And I'll just leave today with all of you thinking, if you have a food or a service that touches food, we're really passionate about supporting this community and think there's a role that they play in your future. So please get in touch, and for your needs or your family needs, know that they now have a home at foodisgood.com. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Max. That was a great way to kick off our startup pitches. Just a reminder, there will be a poll that pops up on your screen for every startup. So if you're interested in connecting with Max and learning more about FIG, please answer that poll. So next up, we have Angie presenting for Kiwi Biosciences. So Kiwi Bio develops novel enzyme technologies to make food a painless experience for every 1 in 8 Americans who are intolerant of the most common and nutrition foods. So please welcome Angie.
Hi, my name is Angie. I'm co-founder of Kiwi Biosciences. And at Kiwi Bio, we're developing novel enzyme products similar to Lactaid, but for a wider range of unaddressed food intolerances. At least 1 in 8 Americans cannot enjoy some of the most common and nutritious foods, like garlic, onion, wheat, apple, avocado, grapefruit, and so much more. That's because these foods contain FODMAPs, a family of hard-to-digest carbohydrates that are notorious symptom triggers for the gut, particularly for individuals with gut disorders like irritable bowel syndrome or IBS. That's why the current go-to clinical protocol for IBS is something known as the low FODMAP diet, which involves avoiding foods that are high in FODMAPs, basically half of the foods that exist. You can imagine this leads to an absurdly restrictive lifestyle. Trust me, I know. I was on the low FODMAP diet for over 3 years before starting Kiwi Bio. And when you're on the low FODMAP diet, not only is it difficult to find safe foods, but you have to give up some of your favorite foods. Kiwi Bio was conceived about a year ago when I asked myself, wait, there's Lactaid for lactose intolerance. Why isn't there something like that for FODMAPs? And that's how FODzyme was born. FODzyme is a novel patent-pending blend of enzymes that breaks down FODMAPs because real food should be painless. Here's how it works. Our enzymes cleave FODMAP molecules into simple sugars that are quickly absorbed before they can ferment and cause symptoms. This works very similarly to the way that Lactaid works on lactose. But FODzyme works on not only lactose, but the FODMAP family's galacto-oligosaccharides and fructans. And we are currently developing a novel polyol targeting enzyme to cover all FODMAPs. We're seeking to partner with large food and beverage brands who want to make their products more accessible to a significant segment of their consumers. Our scientifically validated formulation could work on high FODMAP fruit or vegetable juices, hummus and guacamole dips, and so much more. Low FODMAP brands and product lines are starting to take off, but they're at a huge disadvantage. They're restricted to formulating with only low FODMAP ingredients, which is not the case with FODzyme. Our enzymes target FODMAPs directly, so everyone can enjoy the foods they love. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Angie. And like I said previously, there will be a poll launching after each startup, so please let me know or let us know if you're interested in connecting with any of these companies. So next up, we have Change Foods. They will be kicking off our ingredient innovation section. So Change Foods recreates real cheese and dairy products using microbial biotechnology, producing products that are indistinguishable from the real thing. So let's welcome David to the stage.
Hi everyone, I'm David Booker, the founder and CEO of Change Foods. We're a US Australian food tech startup, as Michelle mentioned, focused on producing the animal products that we love the most, starting with cheese and dairy, without the environmental, ethical, and health issues associated with farming animals. We do this by using cutting-edge biotechnology and precision fermentation to create bioidentical ingredients, helping us produce animal-free products that are indistinguishable from the real thing. Existing dairy alternatives do not adequately match the taste, nutrition, function, and texture of traditional dairy. And this is because they do not contain some of the critical dairy components which are essential to replicate the same experience. The environmental benefits of precision fermentation dairy are evidenced by its significantly lower footprint for land and water usage, as well as lower feedstock requirements in general. Further, for cheese specifically, it requires 10 litres of milk to make just 1 kilogram of cheddar cheese, for example, which explains why cheese is also the third largest greenhouse gas emitter of all foods, behind beef and lamb per kilogram. Our process is to take the dairy genes that encode for proteins and combine them with microorganisms such as yeast, bacteria, or other fungi, resulting in our unique dairy-producing microbes. Secondly, by precision fermentation of these microorganisms with a simple sugar feedstock, we can produce the key dairy ingredients that we're looking for, such as proteins and fats, which are critical to sufficiently replicate the product of interest. Lastly, we take these bioidentical ingredients and formulate them with other plant-based ingredients into final products such as cheese or yogurts. The taste and function is pretty much identical to their conventional farmed versions, without many of the downsides such as lactose, antibiotic residues, hormones, or cholesterol. While we're starting with our own branded food products, over time we can reduce the cost of our process by optimizing the yields of our production host and scaling our fermentation, allowing Change Foods to supply ingredients B2B and into more diverse regions and markets in future. The economic benefits of our approach are far-reaching compared to traditional dairy, given that it's safer, being a proven clean technology that's been used commercially for over 30 years. In fact, it's already been used in cheese making since the early 1990s in the manufacture of non-animal rennet, an enzyme used to curdle milk, now being used in over 90% of cheeses made worldwide today. It's cheaper, given that it's 10 times more efficient than cows at converting feed into products. It's faster and it's leaner, resulting in far greater supply chain efficiencies. I have a strong background in aerospace engineering, working predominantly at Boeing for over 13 years, but then entered the alternative proteins landscape back in 2016. Then in 2019, we met Professor Junior Teo at the Queensland University of Technology in Brisbane, Australia, who has now left to become our co-founder and CTO. Junior blew us away with his depth of knowledge in all things biotech, his vast experience using and optimizing numerous organisms, and has been scaling fermentation technologies for over 21 years. Our US parent company was set up in May last year, where we're building an incredible team and developing our initial products. In late 2020, Irina Geri joined our executive team as Chief Marketing Officer from Danone in the US, having a wealth of experience in plant-based food and beverages, being a force behind multiple turnaround efforts on the Silk and So Delicious brands. Soon after, we also welcomed our Chief Operating Officer, Luis Espinoza, who has a wealth of experience in the US food and dairy manufacturing and operations for the likes of Amy's Kitchen, Kraft, Marquez Brothers, and as the former VP of Manufacturing for Eat Just. We've raised $3.25 million to date to hire key staff, scale up our compounds, and for creating wonderful cheese prototypes, and currently raising more. We've successfully engineered and fermented our target ingredients up to industrial fermentation volume with our partner facility in the US, which is what we're using in our cheese making currently. The plug and play program has allowed us to better understand the international food landscape, identify potential revenue streams, and to build strategic partnerships. Thanks very much for having me.
Thank you so much, David. Please fill out the poll if you're interested in connecting with Change Foods. So next up, we have RambuHealth. RambuHealth is an innovative food ingredient company developing products directly from nature. So please welcome Haider to the stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Michelle said, I'm Ida Rojas, and I will tell you how to make 5x of your investment upcycling exotic superfruit waste streams for improving people's health. Disclaimer, I'm not talking about COVID, even if it is pretty much like rambutan. Rambutan is an exotic superfruit growing abundantly in America, Central America. In 2016, when we were researchers, I learned that polyphenols in the skin of the rambutan fruit could help maintain healthy blood glucose levels. Rambutan generates a lot of husk and seed waste. We upcycle it. Besides polyphenols, there is a successful story behind this fruit and its country, with its biodiversity, sustainability, and well-being. So we extracted these powerful active compounds from the husk of the rambutan fruit, and we call it RambuHealth. Our technology has been proven. Our unique 3-stage patented process involves preserving the husk, proprietary extraction, and microformulation. The rambutan husk extract has scientifically demonstrated so many health benefits that also has been validated by our corporate customers as trends. This is the current advance in each claim you saw in the last slide. We are focusing on healthy blood glucose because of the globesity this pandemic is causing. RambuHealth has been on the market for over 1 year in Latin America. We sell the ingredient B2B for snacks, and as a B2C supplement, we named RamBoost that we currently sell at GNC. RamBoost already matches 40% of GNC sales in resveratrol, the well-known and highly marketed supplement. This is the progress of each development to the date. The beverage is about to be launched. So with our initial success in the Latin supplement market, we are now entering the US. My co-founder Yerlin and I are both technical. Our youth has not been an obstacle. We are surrounded by experienced leaders from whom we have learned about business, venture capital, IP, and much more. Our current investors are from ventures and angels from United States and Costa Rica. With the money raised, we built our pilot plant. We have $200,000 already committed and looked for a lead investor for $600,000 to close it out. The use of funds at For Science, PD, enter the US market, and the most important, we will reach an annual revenue opportunity of $25 million. From corporates, we're looking for strategic partners to help us covering startup gaps. Since we met Plug and Play, we started meeting the best potential customers we could have. Finishing the program, we have 6 active conversations, 3 NDAs signed, and 1 strategic partner on board. Here are examples of the pipeline. Thank you for listening. For follow-ups, please scan the QR code on your left, or just call to my US number. In fact, we will be at the Supply Side West in Vegas, kicking some ass, and in Sunny Valley at the beginning of November for taking a cup of coffee with you. Join us in RambuHealth. We upcycle exotic superfruit waste streams. And I'm finished.
Thank you so much, Hyder. So please scan the QR code, like he said. He said he'll also be in Supply Side West. Or if you want to answer the poll, we're happy to connect you guys as well. So next up, we have Umami Meats. So they are developing affordable, delicious, and sustainable cell-cultured seafood based on their proprietary low-cost, serum-free media and novel marine cell lines. So please welcome me here.
Thanks very much. Hello, everyone. Today I'm going to tell you about Umami Meats and how we're cultivating the future of sustainable seafood. So we envision a future where we can consume healthy and sustainable seafood, but without having to sacrifice the animals in the oceans themselves, or our broader planet. To do that, we're cultivating sustainable seafood that is delicious, affordable, and sustainable, that also is better for our health and also for our planet. The reason that we're focused on seafood is that our supply is currently under threat, and the prospects over the next 30 years are not looking any better. Climate change is threatening fisheries that might even be considered sustainable today, and demand continues rising, with seafood demand in particular expected to grow by almost 80% between now and 2050. Most of that growth is going to happen in Asia Pacific. And most of the species that people want to eat are already overfished or fully fished. Without new production methods, we're not going to be able to meet this growing demand. Our solution is cell-cultured seafood. So we have developed a proprietary growth serum and cell lines that we've isolated from a few species I'll mention in a few minutes. We put those 2 proprietary ingredients together into bioreactors and proliferate the cells to produce large amounts of fish biomass. We then take the biomass and structure it to form a variety of seafood products. Range from the high end in sushi and surimi, to fish fillets and steaks, to the much more affordable hybrid plant and cell-based seafoods that could be quite versatile. We could even take these cells and put them into pet food. But the number one hurdle to making this future we envision possible is the cost of the growth media. It's currently 1,000-fold too expensive. The main driver of this cost comes from the growth serum itself. This is actually derived from the blood of fetal cows that come through the slaughterhouses as a byproduct of the dairy industry. The product is $1,000 per liter and up. We've developed Umami meat supplement that's our proprietary growth serum developed based on upcycled biomass from a commodity crop. We can make it in the lab for $10 per liter today, and at commercial scale, we'll be able to manufacture for less than $1 per liter. This is essential to our path to achieving price parity in seafood and is a core of our technical advantage in this area. Most companies today are manufacturing cell-based fish and meat for about the cost of silver, about $2,500 per kg. Our target at the end of next year is to be manufacturing at pilot scale for less than $70 per kg, which, while expensive, will actually put us in the ballpark of some of the first products we intend to launch. Within 5 years, our target is to be at full scale with optimized bioprocesses and cell lines, manufacturing at a price point that puts us at price parity with most seafood. And we see a massive opportunity to redefine what sustainable seafood means to the consumer. Seafood is a huge market. Over $180 billion of seafood are sold every year. And if cell-based can capture 10% of the market, like A.T. Kearney and other industry analysts assume, then we can sell about $3.5 billion a year in cell-based eel, red snapper, and tuna. We're focusing on these species in particular because they can't be farmed. They're already on endangered and threatened lists, and demand continues to rise. They also have the benefit of being very appealing to the Asian consumer, who is consuming most of the seafood today. Through Plug and Play, we've been able to establish a number of strategic corporate discussions. We have multiple NDAs in place, 3 as of this current conversation, and we've achieved a 10x drop in the production cost since the program start of our media. We now have a team with deep technology and commercial experience working to bring our products to market. My background's in commercializing deep tech, and we have 3 scientists who are leading cell line development, optimization, and media optimization with collectively more than 50 years of experience working in these sectors. I look forward to telling you a bit more about how we can cultivate the future of sustainable seafood. Please feel free to connect with me if you are interested afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mihir. So please answer the poll if you're interested in learning more about his serum-free, low-cost serums and growth serums and their cell lines. So next up, we have Agrosingularity. So they offer the capability to produce first-class powder raw material to the food industry for a full circular economy. So please welcome Paloma.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. Okay, so Agrosingularity, it's a company based in south of Spain. Now, Spain is one of the main agricultural hubs in Europe, and we indeed and in the Mediterranean basin. So Agrosingularity is born out of this concern that 39% of the fresh food in the world is produced is lost along the food supply chain. About half of it is lost during the agricultural processing stage, and also during the primary transformation stage. So this is the canning industry or the juicing industry and the likes. Only in Europe, about 130 million tons of food, of this food is wasted, and we are aimed to reduce this dramatically. So how do we do this? We are going to give you an example. The artichoke is one of our premium products, is the most sold. And what we do is we take the 60% of the artichoke that is discarded by the industry, and we process it into a powder ingredient to turn it back into the industry. Now, we do this with the artichoke and numerous fruits and vegetables, which we are successfully commercializing in Spain and in Europe, and very recently we have signed a deal with Brazil in order to export to the US. Our idea is that we don't have a centralized manufacturing base, but that we have decentralized bases all around the world, thus getting closer to the where the waste is produced and managing it on site, and then reducing the CO2 emissions. So our aim is not to just get a powder plant-based ingredient, but to have a powder plant-based ingredient that has an addition in value. So we are designing blends and specific products that will substitute nitrates in, let's say, for the meat industry, that will add color in a natural way, that will replace sugar to a certain percent in foods, that will add fibers from a plant origin, also add flavor, and of course preserve our foods, thus maximizing what our fruits and vegetables can offer to us. To do this, we have a team. We are 6. The first 3, Juanfra, Dani, Luis, are the original founders. Myself, Miguel, and Amaury have followed up very closely to the founding time of the company. And within us, we sum about 150 years of working experience. Juanfra has extensive experience on innovation as a consultant for companies. Dani is our CEO, Luis, our product manager, and myself, Miguel, and Amaury are very specialized in the food industry, and we've come on board in order to push this project onward. Our main impact is to have an impact in the number 2 SDG, United Nations Sustainability Development Goals, and in the number 12. So thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you so much, Paloma. Please answer the poll if you're interested in connecting with Agrosingularity. So next up, we have Live Green Co. They use technology to make plant-based foods tastier, healthier, and more sustainable. So please welcome Sasikant to the virtual stage.
Good morning, everyone. I am Sasikant, co-founder of the Live Green Co. I am here instead of Priyanka. So, over 70% of our diet even today consists of ultra-processed foods. And there's enough research to show that this causes immune deficiency, heart diseases, and even cancer. And this is even though nature offers 450,000 plants and 10 million compounds. And the food industry still relies on about 7,000 odd additives approved by the US FDA. So we welcome you to the Plant Revolution 2.0, where we are reimagining every food product in the supermarket aisle at scale using our proprietary tech. We are building Cheraka, which is an AI/ML tech platform, which blends ancestral wisdoms of plant nutrition with biotech and machine learning to replace the animal, synthetic, and ultra-processed additives in our foods at 10x the R&D efficiency. As an example, we replaced all the additives in ice creams and went to market in just 90 days using Cheraka. This is a huge market opportunity. Clean label is already a 180 billion market globally, and flexitarians represent 42% of the world population. Our business model is to license Cheraka's outputs. It could be formulations, products, ingredients, to retailers, food manufacturers, and ingredient companies globally. And on the final products, we have a seal on the back of the pack, powered by Cheraka, much like Intel Inside. We chose a collaborative business model as opposed to building our own CPG brand, because we all know our world is in a race against time, and we need to create large-scale impact. As we see, building a CPG brand takes a lot of extensive capital and time, and even the disruptors are finding it difficult to do. We have external validation for Chirica. We did a successful pilot with Sigma Alimentos, Mexico's largest food manufacturer. And we have proven commercial potential by launching products under our own brand in Chile. And we have shown great execution with high capital efficiency. In just 20 months, with less than 500K spent, we launched 4 product lines. We grew 8x, and we have created a pipeline of almost $10 million US. In Chile, we work with all the major supermarkets. Our products are sold there, and now we are finalizing the private label association with them. Sigma and Soriana from Mexico are our investors as well. They have minority stakes. Soriana runs about 800 supermarkets in Mexico. At Plug and Play, we have signed NDAs with Kerry, Tetra Pak, and Coca-Cola. We have finalized the proof of concept scope with Coca-Cola. We are in the process of finalizing the scope with Kerry and Tetra Pak. We have created great differentiation in terms of technology, model, as well as execution. And we have built a versatile team of scientists, engineers, and hustlers. Achieve a lot of global recognition across the globe, not just in LATAM. And are now raising our pre-series A. In fact, we are in Boston and have finalized a lead investor here. We want to help the industry make the transition by 2030 and disrupt the way the world eats. Because we strongly believe that it is no more about a few living green perfectly, it's about billions doing it even imperfectly. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sasikant. Once again, please let us know if you're interested in connecting with them. So next up, we have Grain for Grain. They use a patent pending process that upcycles byproducts like spent grain from breweries into keto-friendly, gluten-reduced, high-protein, high-fiber flour. So please welcome Yoni.
All right. Well, thank you for having me. I'm excited to share about Grain for Grain and our mission for making sustainability and healthy eating available for every kitchen. So just a quick overview of what we do as a business is we operate as kind of an intermediary between the people that produce these byproducts as well as the end customers. So currently right now we're commercializing spent grain flour, which is from the beer making process. So at a high level, you've got your brewery that's selecting high grade quality barley to turn into your favorite beer. So I'm from Denver, I love IPAs, so just select that. And then as an output, you have your waste stream. So in Texas, where we're based in San Antonio, you've got roughly 350 million pounds of this being produced annually. But more importantly, in the US, we see roughly 6 million tons. So pretty high opportunity here in terms of supply. Most of that ends up in landfills and or as cattle feed. So pretty low bioavailability in terms of its use case. Next, kind of where we fit in the process is we've taken the time for conventional drying from 5 to 7 hours down to 15 minutes. This 90% cost reduction in manufacturing has allowed us to not only provide our ingredients in bulk, but also provide products at a retail level that are both affordable, keto-friendly, but more importantly, using the ingredient as the main ingredient on the ingredient list. So in terms of mass, roughly 30 to 33% of all of our products utilize spent grain flour in this case. Our process is scalable, utilizes a small footprint, and we've been establishing quite a few commercial partnerships, which I'll highlight here in just a minute. Now, what we're also looking to do is we found that our technology can actually help upcycle a variety of different industry byproducts. So we're exploring a variety of things, whether that's coffee grounds, other alcohol makers, including tequila from agave from the tequila making process. So right now, Grain for Grain is focused on the spent grain flour and expanding the partnerships, but we see our technology being applied to a variety of other industries and have already piloted several. And so moving forward, we've done a variety of different pilots unfortunately, I think that the slide is not there, but yeah, we've done a variety of different pilots, more importantly with food service, other CPG companies, both on the retail application as well as on the wholesale application. So would love to talk with people more. Right now, we're looking at doing our next raise at the end of Q2 of next year, as well as expanding our current partnerships, both on the bulk and wholesale side currently. So would love to connect with anybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yoni. So please answer the poll if you're interested in connecting with Grain for Grain. So now we have a quick 10-minute break. So we'll still have about 7 pitches after the break. So please don't go anywhere quite yet. There's a lot more good stuff to come. All right.
How do you track your team's innovation efforts? However that is, we've got an easier way. Let us introduce Playbook. Playbook is Plug and Play's innovation software. It is an exclusive tool only available for our ecosystem's corporate partners. With it, you and your team will be able to browse your curated startups database, create, discover, and rate lists of startups, track your engagement, pilots, and investments, analyze data from the tech ecosystem, organize private sessions with select startups, and so much more. Hundreds of corporations count on Playbook to empower their innovation journey. Get in touch to start using Playbook today.
All right, now it's the time to say all right. I hope everyone is making their way back to their ergonomic chairs and screens. We still have 7 startups left and our award ceremony, so hopefully everybody's still paying attention. So let's jump right back into it. So our next startup is BostonMeats. They create protein fibers for authentic texture and alternative meats. So please welcome Christophe.
Awesome. Thank you very much for the kind introduction. Really excited to be here. So my name is Christophe Chantre, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of BostonMeats. And we are a company that's creating true texture in alternative meats. Today, you have things like burgers, sausages, chicken nuggets. We are developing the technology to create steaks, chicken breasts, and the likes. So why us? The simple answer is that we are a texture expert. We spent the last 8 years with my co-founders developing technologies that allow to create structure in tissues. We all met at Harvard in 2013, and there we were studying how tissues grow, how they structure themselves. And from that work, we developed a system that will allow us to create structured biological tissues of fat, muscle, and a variety of different things. And most of the work that we did was geared towards medical applications, but we always had this hypothesis that we could potentially use these technologies that we developed to food to create something like a piece of meat. And that's exactly what we did 11 or 12 months ago now and launched BostonMeats. So what was really exciting for us as we launched this company is we're starting to see more and more that through technology, we now know that we can create products without the animal. We know we can create meat without the animal. Now, this started many decades ago, with Core and Trufuki and others. They started to introduce new processing technologies, new ingredients, and now more recently with Beyond Impossible, showing that you can really create a burger or a chicken nugget or a sausage that is really starting to have the experience of a piece of meat. The question now is, what's next? Globally, over half of the meat that is consumed is not these processed products. It's not burgers, chicken nuggets. It's whole muscle cuts, which is a steak, a chicken breast, a pork chop. These meat products have a distinctive structure. They have intact muscle fibers, connective tissue, fat, that's all organized in a very specific structure. That structure is going to impart mouthfeel, texture. It's going to make it look like an actual piece of meat. And that is really what's lacking today because we don't have the technologies to actually really create that true structure. And that is what we are developing at BostonMeats. And this is just an example of what we are able to create. This is a plant-based chicken tender. So chicken tender, real chicken tender is a piece of the chicken breast that's battered and fried. And here, this is our version where it really has this meat-like appearance and texture. Most of the products that come out today look more like a sponge, essentially. And we're really, truly able to create this true meat structure that you would expect in an actual piece of meat. Now, we're really excited by this and this opportunity because As I mentioned, over half the meat that is consumed globally is not these processed products, it's real piece of meat. And if we can create this true muscle structure, it means we can really start to address this other half of the meat market. These are just some of the examples that we've worked on, pulled pork, pulled chicken, chicken breast for chicken sandwiches, canned tuna, but really it's this other half of the meat market that we can start to address with this technology that we're developing and scaling right now. Now, as I mentioned, we started this company pretty much exactly a year ago, and for 2021, our objectives was to demonstrate to investors, future investors, that we could demonstrate this texture in something like a pulled pork. It wasn't really much of a focus on the taste or the flavor of it, but really on this texture. And we're very excited to share essentially that we've reached those milestones already a month ago. We've done that with both a pulled pork prototype and a chicken tender. And because of that, we've decided it's time for us to start raising our next round of capital and really to actually go to market, to expand our R&D team, to really start incorporating fats and flavoring into these products and do a soft launch of product to really garner interest from consumers and start to get feedback on what this kind of new type of products can be, and start scaling our production as well. And with that, thank you very much. This is our amazing team that's growing day by day. And if you have any more questions, please reach out either to my email directly or through our website. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christophe. And also, if you answer on the poll, we're happy to connect you guys as well. So next up is Origin by Ocean. They are meeting the growing global demand for seaweed-based products by processing sea and ocean-grown biomass to produce natural, sustainable ingredients for the food, beverage, cosmetics, and pharma markets. So please welcome Mikhail.
Hello, everybody, and pleased to meet you all. It's an honor to be here today to talk you through Origin by Ocean. I'm a CEO and founder at Origin by Ocean. I was brought up on an island in the middle of the Baltic Sea. I'm a business executive with more than 20 years of experience in business leadership and development. When I grew up, the Baltic Sea was clear as vodka coming from Finland. But today the situation is totally different. So we can see that the Baltic Sea is really in big trouble. We can see that blue-green algae are blooming every summer. So we want to convert this environmental problem into an opportunity, creating valuable ingredients for industrial applications. So when we look at this problem, we find that in the Baltic Sea area alone, this is a multi-billion euro problem. Looking at this in other corners of the world, we find similar costs and damages in all regions, from east to west. So from a business viewpoint, we want to convert this challenge into an opportunity, utilizing key market drivers such as vegetarian foods, functional foods, plant-based ingredients, and sustainable raw materials. So with our Nauru Neo-Ecology biorefinery solution, we actually create an opportunity for us humans to become a part of the solution and not only the problem. We actually close the nutrient cycle from land to sea and sea to land. And 5 years from now, we will be up and running in full-scale production, converting 80,000 tons of biomass into 10,000 tons of products, divided into 4 product groups: sugars, emulsifiers, pigments, and antioxidants, and last but not least, our biomass residue product. These are all applicable to applications ranging from pharmaceuticals to feed applications. This gives us a highly sustainable business which we can license. A typical product application would be in creating a oat-based yogurt, for example, where we convert seaweed into emulsifier granule, creating texture, rheology, feel of mouth, and fatty sensation in this product. Since our closing of a seed round in May last year, we have gained great traction with our product development partners, ranging from dairy all the way to packaging applications. We have also received numerous grants and awards, and worth mentioning here is being one of the top 10 most promising startups in Finland this year. We are a great team of ocean savers. We have great knowledge and expertise ranging from biorefinery, process research and development, biomaterials, and natural sciences, ranging from biochemistry as well as marine biology. So what next? Well, we are now gathering momentum towards our integrated pilot phase that we are planning on starting next June. And we are now raising our A round, and we are looking for strategic partnerships in the application development space. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mikhail. So please let us know in the poll if you're interested in learning more and connecting with them. So next up, we have Sophie's Bionutrients. They're creating a high quality, sustainable plant-based protein from microalgae grown in urban environments and fed with industrial food waste. So please welcome Eugene.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Eugene Wang. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Sophie's Bionutrients. I started my journey because I found out my daughter Sophie's allergic reaction to shellfish. Ended up we're working on something even bigger. Our goal for this technology is to create a truly sustainable protein production system that requires absolute minimum resources with absolute maximum nutrition output. So this is the problem we're trying to address. We all know that when people get wealthier, they tend to eat a lot more meat or seafood. That's why we're promoting plant-based protein today. Question is the plant-based protein we're promoting to the world really the silver bullet that we're looking for? We do not think so. That's why we came up with this solution. We went through close to 1,000 different strains of microalgae, and we finally found about 4 strains that can grow in dark in fermentation style and be sturdy enough to be fed with all kinds of industrial food waste. And after our proprietary protein isolation process, the finished protein flour is just like the one you saw on the lower right-hand corner. It's a wonderful color, wonderful smell of protein flour that in the future can be priced very competitively. Now, the market opportunity is very real, so I don't have to bore you guys with more numbers, but I especially want to point out this research done by Boston Consulting Group. Basically, they're saying by the year 2035, the microorganism-based alternative protein is going to be billions of dollars in the future. So why our technology is more sustainable? Well, first is time. We can harvest our protein in under 3 days. And because of the short cycle, all the water energy you need is very, very little. Another thing is space, and this is especially true in a lot of parts of the world today. Growing a ton of pure protein from our microalgae requires just 0.02 hectares of space. And don't forget, using bioreactor, we don't need any of these chemicals in the process. That's going to be really healthy to the environment and also the human body. The reason why we chose to use food waste initially was because that we're based in Singapore. Turns out it's a wonderful way to reduce our cost and also create a circular economy. Now, our pricing in the future, when we have large enough operation, can be very competitive. So competitive that we can compete with almost all the plant-based protein in the market today. This is our product roadmap. As you can see right here, we plan to focus on servicing the plant meat and plant milk industry using our protein flour. So we plan to design a lot of different kind of protein flour with different kind of functionalities to satisfy these manufacturers. And from this idea, we generate our first protein flour, a wonderful protein flour with almost 70% of protein purity. And from this protein concentrate, we successfully made a plant milk. We're working on our second protein product at the moment. And we have a lot of IPs on this technology. So far, we have filed 6 provisional patents in the US and 2 design patents as well on our bioreactors. This is our revenue model. We're going to be B2B food ingredient sales and our go-to-market strategy. We're now in phase 1, doing a lot of customization to win over customer. And I'm very glad to report that Ingredient Asia Pacific has become our first customer. our competitive landscape, we're the only one using food waste to feed our microalgae. Our milestones and tractions, we first started this project in 2017 in Singapore. And my team, I'm a serial entrepreneur in plant meat industry. I got Kiwi and Bionutrients, both of whom have a lot of years of experiences in pharmaceutical and nutraceutical industry. And our team of scientific advisory board. Joining the PMP, we got a lot of contracts from big companies around in North America and Europe. And the momentum is really flying high for us. So really appreciate what all the help supported by the program. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Eugene. And please let us know through the poll if you're interested in connecting with them. So next up, we have Qloo, so a cultural artificial intelligence platform that operates via an application programming interface. So please welcome James.
Hello, I'm James Alger, COO at Qloo. I'm here to tell you a little bit about our cultural AI platform. Many companies today are rightly concerned about data privacy. Qloo's cultural AI has been built from the ground up to provide deep intelligence on consumer taste via a fully anonymized approach. At Qloo, we use AI to help brands understand and predict their customers' taste better than ever before. Our mission is to understand taste as it relates across categories, not just within them. How your customers taste in movies contains strong signals to the brands they may prefer in fashion, travel, media, and so on. We can take data in any category and uniquely use it to predict taste in any other category, within milliseconds, even at great scale, and even in categories where no data exists. Qloo generates a 360-degree view of your customers' preferences. Having this complete view of customer taste can add tremendous value to a wide range of business and marketing functions. Traditionally, brands have segmented audiences along geographic or demographic boundaries. However, the world we live in is changing. People's priorities are shifting, and the issues they care about are playing an ever-increasing role in the brands they shop and emotionally attach themselves to. So having a marketing strategy designed for all female customers or all customers under 25 is unlikely to serve you very well these days. Instead, Qloo can help you identify the naturally occurring segments of your audience via a deeper understanding of their tastes and passions across all categories. Deploying, targeting, and messaging strategies designed to appeal to mindsets rather than ages, genders, or locations is far more likely to prove effective this day. Understanding which elements of your audience are deeply passionate about organic ingredients or sustainable farming practices versus those that are more concerned with cost or convenience can go a long way in optimizing the effectiveness of your marketing investments. Qloo's API can provide you with the answers to many a question for which empirical evidence was previously never available. Here are a couple of examples of how Qloo has been used to date. Campbell's used Qloo after having identified a previously untapped market to target for its paste salsa brand. Qloo helped Campbell's better understand the taste, preferences, and lifestyles of a new generation of mothers with children under the age of 2. What do they watch on TV? Where do they shop? Which fashion, health, and beauty brands are they most aligned with? Where do they go on vacation? And what other food brands are they known to prefer? Similarly for Pepsi, they wanted to understand a whole new emerging market, the CBD-infused beverage category, a category that just didn't exist a few years ago. Qloo was able to paint a 360-degree picture of the lifestyle and taste of this audience, from media preferences to the brands they prefer in each and every category. This type of deep intelligence is used to inform a wide variety of functions, from product development itself to media targeting and creative strategies, as well as decisions around partnerships and specific geographic locations worldwide. Qloo has been lucky enough to work with some great brands in the last couple of years. Thank you for taking the time to listen to this presentation. I'd be delighted to answer any questions you may have and hope to explore how we may be able to help you better understand and serve your customers.
Thank you so much, James. So please let us know in the poll if you're interested in connecting and learning more about Qloo. So next up is Le Papondu. So they are developing the first plant-based egg for those who are suffering from an egg allergy, follow a vegan diet, or want to limit their consumption of animal-based products. So please welcome Philippine.
Hi everyone, I am Philippine and I'm very happy to introduce you to our startup, Le Papondu. I will begin with a quick analysis that we made before starting our project. This is that more and more people don't want to eat animal-based product anymore. And it's a global phenomenon, as you can see on this slide. Maybe it's your case, or maybe as a child you suffered from egg allergy, because this is the most common food allergy. But having to remove egg from the daily diet is difficult because eggs are everywhere, from breakfast to dinner and from starter to dessert. So we wanted to offer our own plant-based alternative as scientific, and this is how Le Papondu was born. So you can see on this slide that we developed different products. The first one is on the left and is able to replace a beaten egg, so mix of white and yolk, in omelets, for example, but also in different kinds of recipes, such as cakes. And we also worked a lot on the prototype that you can see on the picture on the right, which is a product that will look like an egg with the white and the yolk, both liquid and that you can separate. With this, we will be able to do everything that you can do with the chicken egg, and even a sunny-side up egg without an egg. Both of these products are of course tasty, plant-based, but they are also easy to use, provide a very interesting protein intake, just like an egg, but also a fiber intake, which is very nice. For this project, we are two co-founders, Sherilyn and I. We are both engineers in bioindustry, and we also have a master's degree in chemistry. Thanks to the plug and play program, we also had the opportunity to be advised by amazing mentors, including those that you can see on this slide, and we thank them very much. Our product isn't launched yet, but the first one, the liquid one, will arrive on the market in the next month, and we already had a lot of demands coming from different countries, allowing us to draw this prediction. Our first launch will occur with restaurants in France at the beginning of next year, and then we would like to begin commercialization in other countries the year after, first in Europe and then in the rest of the world. You maybe know our main competitor, Just. Our first product will look like theirs, but we differentiate ourselves thanks to our nutritional values, who are close to those of an egg. And we, for example, have less fat than Just. We also have only mineral and plant-based ingredients with a very short list of ingredients, and all of our ingredients are very easy to understand for the consumers. We pay a lot of attention in the selection of our ingredients. Thanks to the plug and play program, we received a lot of advice, of course, on our business in North America in order to prepare the internationalization, but also on fundraising and on the marketing strategy. And we also had the opportunity to meet different food companies, and we've had 3 sample requests from which we should be able to respond in the coming month. And plug and play also allowed us to gain in international visibility thanks to all the network and communication. So we are very grateful for this month spent with them, and we are at your disposal to introduce you in more depth our product. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Philippine. And please fill out the poll if you're interested in connecting with them and learning more about Le Papondu. So next up, we have Hero Team. So they are the first domestic company in China that produces and sells plant-based meat using high moisture extrusion technology. So please welcome Coco.
Thank you. So hi, everyone. We're Hero Team. I'm the VP of Strategy and Operations of Hero Team. So Hero Team manufactures and sells plant-based meat products. We're based in Shanghai and aim to capture the $5 billion plant-based meat market in China. Although China is already the largest and biggest plant-based meat market globally, there's a lack of attractive options for consumers. Next slide. Local brands have mediocre options for consumers, and whereas international brands are too expensive. So next slide. Western brands, they are priced at 3 times the prices of local competitors and do not produce localized products. Next slide, please. At Herateen, our vision is to make plant-based meats products part of the Chinese consumer's daily diet. We envision to become the #1 value for money brand in a premium quality segment in China. And here is our winning formula. Firstly, utilizing the best technologies and formulations. We're the first domestic company in China to use high moisture extrusion technology, which is best in class and adopted by global leaders such as Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods. Our R&D team has previously led product development at some of these largest brands as well. We're also partnering with Mission Bounds to co-develop hybrid meat products and well-positioned to be the first in China to sell as such. Secondly, we're also keeping our prices affordable through a domestic supply chain and lean cost structure. Thirdly, tailoring our approach to local consumption habits with product emphasis on local applications and ready-to-eat ranges. Next slide. And here is a brief lineup of what our products look like currently. Next slide. There's no team better positioned to build a winner in this category. And together, we have decades of experience in the alternative protein, food service, and retail industries. Next slide. Our CEO is a serial entrepreneur and have over 20 years of experience in the food industry, which includes CMO at McDonald's Taiwan, Group Vice President at Shabu Shabu, China's second largest burger brand, and GM at Better Meat, a healthy F&B concept brand. And with a team of only 7 FTE and less than $1 million funding today, Herateen has generated a very large and efficient output in less than 12 months, particularly on product and channel rollout. We have had very positive traction today in the food service channel. We're in over 50 points of sales and in discussion with a number of large chains. Within 2 months' time, we launched in over 40 retail points of sales, and our e-commerce store traffic is at top 10% of the category. Next slide. We have now raised just under 1 million today, and we're also currently raising our seed round fundraising. And over the past months where we've participated in Plug and Play, we're very happy to have met a lot of fundraising partners and corporate partnerships, which we're in currently active discussion with, and we've also benefited from a very comprehensive, well-rounded workshop takeaways. Thanks a lot to the Plug and Play team, and we also look forward to more collaboration and relationship from this. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Coco. And please let us know in the poll that's on your screen if you're interested in connecting and learning more from Herateen. So last but not least, we have Full Cycle Bioplastics, a biotech company that converts organic waste into bioplastics. So please welcome Kiera.
Overproduction and waste, though inefficient, have become the global norm. Oil-based plastic pollution, organic waste generation, and landfilling are huge drivers of climate change. Fortunately, Full Cycle is addressing these 3 global problems with one solution. My name is Kiera Erickson, and I work with Full Cycle Bioplastics, a California-based biotech company whose patented IP turns organic waste into a non-toxic, compostable plastic alternative called polyhydroxyalkanoate, or PHA. Full Cycle is the only completely circular bioplastic company in the world. Our process is entirely circular, and all of our byproducts and residual wastes are either upcycled or composted on site. It's extremely low in energy and water usage, and products produced with our PHA can be upcycled back into the process as feedstock for virgin resin. Unlike other bioplastics, which rely on food source as feedstock as critical input, Full Cycle sources waste which would otherwise be landfilled, thus reducing methane and carbon emissions. We transform existing mixed organic waste, such as inedible food waste, agricultural and forestry byproducts, wastewater streams, and cellulosics like dirty paper and cardboard into PHA. Not only does our process mitigate the greenhouse gases that these wastes would have emitted in landfills or perhaps as litter in our ecosystems, but our PHA is also the lowest cost, lowest carbon alternative to oil-based plastics. Our PHA can replace polypropylene, polyethylene, and polystyrene plastics. It has the potential for widespread adoption, and we are already disrupting the global plastics market. We partner with big tech companies, waste haulers, and some of the largest global food brands to convert their waste into their own sustainable packaging solutions. We also license our technology to companies who want to bring PHA to new markets. Currently, demand for PHA is so huge that one of the larger producers today expects to be sold out through 2024. There's a lot of room in the market for emerging biomaterials manufacturers, which is why we're scaling up to meet the demand. We're at TRL level 8, thanks to successful commercial demonstration at our Tech Partners facility in Mountain View. And we'll advance to TRL 9 by 2022 as we commission our first licensed facility in New Zealand and a commercial scale facility in California. We're headquartered in Silicon Valley, and our team of 40 and growing biochemists, engineers, and creatives continues to grow rapidly. We're redefining the plastic industry and catalyzing the circular economy. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Kira. So please let us know in the last poll that if you're interested in connecting with Full Cycle Bioplastics or any of the other startups that presented today, please let us know. And with that, we are now done with the pitch portion of today's event. So please don't hop off quite yet. We still have our award ceremony to celebrate a few members of our program. So to start off with, we want to introduce the newest partner of our food program. So our newest partner is Cliff Bar. Sorry, I announced that before the drum roll, but they are our newest partner. They joined us virtually during this program and have been already super eager to engage and to work with startups. So we're super excited to have them join us. So please welcome Jurek. He leads the brand marketing and process and systems improvement at Cliff Bar to the stage to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Michelle. We're just so thrilled to be partnering with Plug and Play. This is a new way of thinking for us at Cliff. Like many big CPG companies, we've been solely focused on doing traditional consumer research and thinking about close-in consumers and how do we deliver on the things that they need and want. And so, well, that's been very successful for us. We understand that the future is really this open innovation model. And we're so thrilled to be working with Plug and Play, where they not only provide this incredible insight into categories, ones that we already currently play in, ones that we're looking at, and ones that we haven't even thought about or not even aware of. And so that's one great partnership opportunity. Another is around visibility into companies, the ones, many of which we heard today, that we're so excited to learn about, see what they're doing, and see how we can partner with them. And finally, we're really excited about connecting with many of these companies, just with like-minded. And we've got this internal manifesto for our open innovation team. It's really focused on, it's not revolutionary at all, but it's really important to us. And we believe that new technology and innovative business models are going to profoundly change the way CPG consumers experience things for the better. And Cliff Bar really wants to lead that and change and co-create the future of CPG. And so we see ourselves as the open innovation team, as the conduit between the inside world, the things that are happening, the opportunity areas within Cliff Bar, to the outside world. So through partnerships and collaborations. And so we're looking for partners with to partner with like-minded companies and individuals that have new design and technologies that could help us grow our business and solve the challenges that we've looked to set. So we're so thrilled to be partnering with Plug and Play, and so thrilled to learn more about all the different companies and look forward to connecting with many of you in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Marek. And it's already been a pleasure starting our partnership with you and the team, and we're definitely excited for what's to come.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you so much. So next up, we want to announce our corporate award winner. So every program we select a corporate award winner, and this award is based on the entirety of our partners' engagement with the food program. So this program, we selected a partner that was really successful in working with the startups in our program, active within our platform and events, and was a crucial support for us launching our Chicago platform. This partner has been a longstanding partner with Plug and Play and has been truly an exemplary example from the corporate landscape, recognizing the true importance of external innovation and fostering this critical ecosystem that can change the future of food. So this year, the award goes to, drumroll please. No drumroll. Perfect. PepsiCo. So please welcome Samir, who is the Senior Manager of R&D External Innovation, and Scott, the Director of R&D External Innovation at PepsiCo, to the virtual stage.
All right. Well, thank you, Michelle. An honor to accept this award on behalf of PepsiCo. Our relationship with Plug and Play began 5 years ago, and I've been involved in a partnership for over 3 years now. We started out as anchor partners in the new materials and packaging vertical, as well as a founding partner of this beverage vertical. And we've been able to leverage our corporate membership to do deal flows and attend events in other verticals as well, including supply chain, brand and retail, media and ad, health, and numerous others. Through our membership in the Alliance to End Plastic Waste, we've also joined the sustainability vertical and participated in programs in Paris, Singapore, Shanghai, and Sao Paulo. And we've also been in discussions to participate in other global programs in South Africa, and particularly in China, where I visited 2 years ago, along with Plug and Play for their launch of their agri-food program there. As a global company with presence in nearly every country around the world, and one with innovation and transformation ambitions spreading across all of our functions, having a global partner with the breadth of Plug and Play across multiple industry verticals is critical to our success. Through this relationship, we've been introduced to over 1,000 startups, had hundreds of conversations, executed over a dozen pilots and POCs, and we're starting to see our first commercial successes emerging from this partnership. However, I truly believe that this award represents an inflection point in the growth of our partnership with Plug and Play. And for PepsiCo, the next expansion will not be external, but it's going to be internal. Despite the successes that I've mentioned, there have been relatively few people at PepsiCo directly involved with Plug and Play. Prior to the start of this batch, my colleague Scott, who will speak shortly, joined our team, and he's now co-leading this partnership with me. And he's been instrumental in exposing more of our stakeholders to Plug and Play and the power of our partnership. In a way, the pandemic has actually been a blessing, as accelerated Plug and Play's adoption of this virtual platform like this, and for this and other events. And while we all miss seeing each other in person, the virtual platform has allowed for more of our associates to participate, including many of whom may be watching right now. And last week, as you saw and heard earlier, Plug and Play finally launched its food and beverage program in my hometown of Chicago, and home to over 2,000 PepsiCo associates. I say that tongue-in-cheek, but I don't believe I'm being biased when I say that Chicago is the hub for the food and beverage industry in the U.S., with about 4,500 food and beverage companies located in the metro area. Having a physical presence and events in Chicago will make it easier for more PepsiCo associates in Chicagoland, but also at other locations in the central or eastern U.S. to participate. And while being able to participate virtually is great, it doesn't replace the energy that is felt in person at a Plug and Play event. These events truly help kickstart collaboration amongst corporate, startups, and everyone else within the Plug and Play ecosystem. Bottom line, I think the new hybrid program in Chicago and the new associates we're bringing into the partnership are only going to accelerate our successes, and I'm excited to enter the next phase of our journey. So with that, thanks again for the award, and I look forward to hopefully seeing many of you in person next year. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Scott to say a few words as well.
Thanks, Samir. Great summary of our historic partnership. I feel like Samir's been in the middle of this evolution, as our partnership with Plug and Play has grown. I am a new addition to the Plug and Play experience, and all of my experience has been virtual. So I too am looking forward to getting to some of the in-person events. But what I will say, just to build on Samir's points about the experiences with the startups and the global, nature of how Plug and Play is expanding and affording new opportunities. I've been very impressed with the engagement of the other corporate partners and some of the connection points we've been able to have on that front. I think it stimulates some great discussion about how to partner externally and how to evolve with rapidly changing times. So I'm looking forward to learning more as I continue and engage with Plug and Play as part of PepsiCo. But just want to say I appreciate you guys and all the engagement you've had with us in the limited time I've been part of the team.
Thank you so much, Samir and Scott. It was a pleasure seeing you last week in person in Chicago, Samir, and I'm sure we'll meet soon, Scott, with a lot of our future in-person events, hopefully. So thank you so much for your engagement with our program, and looking forward to what's to come.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. So next up, we will announce our Startup Award winner. So every program, like the corporate side, we also select a startup that is been really engaged with our program, successful working with our partners, and really is about finding new ways to improve, seek out new resources, and have a true passion for changing the way that we think about food. So our program would really not be where it is right now without our amazing startups. So our Startup Award winner goes to, drumroll please, Origin by Ocean. So congratulations to Mikhail and the rest of the team. It was a pleasure having you in our program and having some great optimistic energy to see the way that you drive innovation and work out, new technology roadmaps for your company. So thank you so much for your participation. And last up, we also want to announce our Mentor Award winner. So this award is based on several factors. So it's the length of the relationship with Plug and Play, their dedication and time to the startups in the program, and also their high engagement during, during the actual program and our whole ecosystem. So our Mentor Award goes to, drumroll please, Betsy. So Betsy has been an amazing addition to our batch program. She actually started out as a champion from one of our corporate partners and became a mentor over a year ago. So her sessions have been a great value to our startups and program. And now she has been even an advisor to one of our batch programs now, batch startups now. So on behalf of Plug and Play, we really want to thank you and of course to our other passionate mentors. You guys truly shape the future of our programs, and we appreciate all the energy and optimism that Betsy has brought to our organization and more importantly to our entrepreneurs. So thank you so much. And to wrap up, we will be launching one last poll for you guys to fill out. It's going to be an NPS score. So if you guys don't mind taking a few seconds to fill out the poll, the data is really important for us and the way that we organize our future events. So thank you to everybody that's came to our expo today, our partners, our startups, our mentors, our VCs, everyone in the audience. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.